Dark Samus in Smash Bros. May not be the first Echo Fighter introduced, but it is the first one in the numerical order, meaning it's time for a special double feature. Yep, anytime there's going to be an Echo Fighter appearing, I will be doing double playthroughs, double the stories, and double the deep dives, just to get some more information about these guys. And it looks like the next one on our list will be Peach and Daisy, so look forward to that one. But for now, at least, we are covering Dark Samus, and luckily Dark Samus doesn't show up until Smash Ultimate, so I only have to cover that game, right? Wrong! Well, that's because Dark Samus can technically be seen all the way back in Smash 64, and have been showing up throughout the whole series, in interesting ways. So I think it might be a fun little thing to dissect every time there's an instance of a Dark Samus, or at least like a Samus doppelganger throughout Smash Bros., and try to explain it away using Metroid's own lore and canon. I think it would be a fun little experiment to try that. Plus, since Dark Samus doesn't show up till the end, I get to use any Metroid game before Smash Ultimate to figure out which alien or parasite it is, as well as who created them, since the villain's motives are always an important part of Metroid. Now, with that intro out of the way, let's head right into Smash 64 and the polygons.
Versus Fighting Polygon Team!
Now, with everything at our disposal, let's figure out the definitive place and time in Smash 64 could take place in the Metroid's canon, as well as try to explain away the only other copy of Samus, the Polygon Samus. Now, since the games that came out are only the original Metroid, Metroid 2, and Super Metroid, lore-wise, pretty much every other Metroid game except for Fusion and Other M happened at this point, meaning that we can explore every possible angle at this point to figure out what the Dark Samus in Smash 64 is. Now, beforehand, since I could use all of Metroid lore and use the retcon games instead of the originals, I could use the newer Metroid Zero game to explain away this story in Smash 64. Now, with that, we can see why Samus has a lot less of these fiery attacks at this point, since in the remake of Metroid 1, we can see her wield tons of weapon upgrades, one of which is the Plasma upgrade, and based on other Metroid games, it is a fire-based weapon. Now, this is important since as we see in Super Metroid, we can see different pirates appear that are protected to different abilities Samus wield. So meaning that the pirates are now protected against Samus's weaponry, but how did they get that info from her? Well, as we see in the Metroid Prime series, it seems like Samus's exploits and weaponry were recorded during her first mission by the Space Pirates, and seeing how well prepared they are in the future titles, as well as the very advanced technology to make a recreation of Ridley, I can be convinced that during her first mission when Mother Brain is observing us in the very beginning, she's already sending requests to have our abilities mimic, mechanically as well as other creatures she observed, and have them on their side. Also, as we see in Metroid Prime 3, Samus's missions and objectives aren't linear. Even though she is classified as a bounty hunter, she is more in the line of like a mercenary, since a lot of the times they're just looking for reconnaissance on the situations, as well as neutralizing situations that just so happen to end up defeating a very powerful enemy, as well as clearing some specific objectives for the military to advance. So, the whole story mode in Smash 64 could just be another objective for Smash to go into these areas and subdue the dangerous creatures there, with the main quest is to locate and defeat Master Hand. However, during that mission, there was one event that happened where all characters in Smash 64 show their polygonal appearance and attack you all at once, including Samus herself. Now, this is the first instance of like a Dark Samus to appear in Smash, to where another copy of Samus attacks the original one in order to protect a superior being. Now, in the Smash lore, this explained away by Samus simply traveling throughout the code of the game, revealing to her that she is just a program within this world, and in order to be real, she must defeat the creator, Master Hand. However, in the Metroid lore, it could be explained away that this was just the first prototype that the Space Pirates tried to make of Samus that ended in failure, since we know that Samus was getting observed during her first mission, and pirates have been trying to recreate all her aspects in later games. Now, we do know that the pirates' attempts at this have failed drastically, and even injured a lot of people, just because they were unable to be as flexible or as movable as Samus. But it could be explained away with all their work with machinery, especially with Mecha Ridley in Metroid Zero. that they could try like a robotic version of Samus at this point that quickly got destroyed in this game. Now, with that out of the way, I could definitely say that the polygonal version of Samus is definitely the Space Pirates' first attempt at recreating Samus that does end in failure, but does get upgraded and evolves in the next game, Melee. Dark Samus in Melee is a tricky one not only to find but explain away, since at this point, not only do we move on to Super Metroid within that game, but there are 3 instances of a Dark Samus in this game, and all of them are in one area, in the event mode where you go into Brinstar Depths up against Craig. Now, the only info I can dig up on this was that the reason the color under the metal of the Dark Samuses was green was because the Varia suit was actually supposed to be this color when mass produced for some reason. So I got to go thinking on what this could mean, and after some digging, this is no doubt just a huge reference to how many bosses and mini-bosses there are in Super Metroid, excluding the final boss. However, instead of the actual bosses like in Super Metroid, it seems like all Samus has to do is destroy all these Metal Samus and even Craig in the background in order to head into the secret room to defeat Mother Brain. So the best way I can describe the Dark Samus in Melee is that the Space Pirates were so confident in their final Samus designs that they decided to give them all the keys to access Mother Brain and have them work in tandem with Craig in order to put a stop to us. However, it seemed like this idea didn't work at all, since Samus was easily able to dismantle them all and even defeat Craig, allowing Samus to head straight to Mother Brain and initiate the final countdown. However, because of this allows our most powerful soldier to escape this place pretty much unscathed, thus providing the pirates with a valuable information and a more sinister plan on our next entry, Brawl. Dark Samus in Brawl takes on a whole new look as well as a purpose in Brawl. Even though the Metroid Prime trilogy and spin-offs have all started, and even Dark Samus has its own trophy at this point, the Dark Samuses we are concerned with are the bodyguards for the enclosed Samus Chozo suit, and they seem to be powered by another source. Now, what's interesting about these Dark Samus is that they are power/created using a completely new source originating from this game, the Subspace Shadow Bugs. Now, the story of these bugs are actually kind of interesting, but we'll get more into that in another fighter's video. But for now, just note that these things are able to copy the abilities of the fighters in their trophy form. However, based on what happens here, we know that it's not exactly the full extent of their power, since they were able to recreate Samus' suit without it needing to be in a trophy form. They were just able to copy her suit. What's also interesting is that this suit in particular has all of Samus' most powerful upgrades already, giving the Shadowbugs a whole arsenal of firepower at their disposal, making these Dark Samuses the ideal bodyguards. Now, unfortunately for them, they do get bested by the person who knows these suits inside and out, ZSS, alongside her companion Pikachu, thus forcing these Dark Samus clones' story to end pretty abruptly. Now, even though this is the last major time we see Dark Samus take place in any kind of story or events in the Smash series, the real Dark Samus will finally make her first proper appearance in the next Smash game, Smash 4. Now, in Smash 4, there are 2 instances of Dark Samus, one real and another one kind of a mystery. The mysterious one is pretty much an exact version of Samus, but with the goal of stopping us from defeating Ridley in this game in the event mode, where Samus is trying to avenge her parents' death. Now, I concluded that since Ridley in the game stage of this was referencing Metroid Other M, that the Dark Samus was a Galactic Federation creation, in order to try to preserve this Ridley, since we know that the Federation has a huge interest in Ridley, as exemplified in both Fusion and Metroid Other M, to where in Fusion they preserved a frozen Ridley in their freezer, and in Other M they recreated him. Now, with that one out of the way, let's look at the real Dark Samus preserved in the Assist Trophy. Now, the moveset of this Dark Samus in the Assist Trophy is heavily inspired by the moveset back in Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, as we see the huge Phazon crystals getting summoned, as well as her Phazon ball shooting out and homing in on us. She also has her usual rapid fire attack that she uses when to cover a large area fast. Now, this could have two major implications at this point. The first is that even after the events of Metroid Prime 3, there is still enough Phazon left in the world for Dark Samus' revival, since the attacks it uses are based on huge amounts of Phazon being pooled around her, meaning that the Phazon epidemic is still a threat in these games. Or this could mean that in the Smash universe, Samus hasn't done the Metroid Prime 3 campaign yet, since that's where Dark Samus is at her best with all these attacks at the ready. At this point, I am inclined to believe that after the events of Metroid Prime 3, there is no possibility that Phazon should still be in existence at this point, which makes me think that the events of Smash Bros. Takes place before Metroid Prime 3. But definitely after 1 and 2, since Dark Samus got its form from absorbing Samus' Phazon suit back in Metroid Prime 1, and she wasn't this powerful back in Metroid Prime 2 yet either. However, unlike the events of Metroid Prime 3, it seems like Dark Samus at this point in Smash 4 is trapped within the Assist Trophy, implying that someone has captured it, but who could have captured it at this point? Well, seeing the beginning events of Metroid Prime 3, we can see that Dark Samus was revived within a space pirate facility, and as we see in Metroid Prime 2, the relationship between the space pirates and Dark Samus is a bit of a strange one, since space pirates had tried to reason with Dark Samus before, but she completely ignored them and decided to just obliterate them just so she can get some more Phazon that they stored up. However, even though it was for a short time, Dark Samus was technically trapped within a canister already that was designed by the space pirates. So even though it was in her weakened state, Dark Samus was trapped, and releasing the Assist Trophy could be releasing Dark Samus from that canister early, forcing her to defend itself with the little power she has, and then quickly flee to a new canister so she can get more power later on. That ends my bit of an explanation on Dark Samus in Smash 4, so let's put it into a story real quick. And you know what? Let's explain it all the way back on Talon 4, otherwise known on Metroid Prime 1. All the way back in Metroid Prime 1, a Leviathan seed has exited a warp point and decided to land on a planet known as Talon 4. The inhabitants of this planet are unequipped to destroy the seed, forcing some to flee and others to seek shelter, resulting in a mass destruction of the landscape, with a major problem arising afterwards. After surviving the initial impact, the inhabitants emerged and discovered the Phazon, but called it the Great Poison, as it corrupted not only the animals of this world, turning them more aggressive, but also their own kind, forcing some of them to turn on each other. In order to combat this, they managed to encase the source of it in a giant temple, but not before the Phazon attracted a nearby Metroid into its lair, transforming it into a terrifying beast. However, with all that said and done, another threat came around, the space pirates. After discovering a huge amount of energy coming off from this planet, and with the remaining survivors already in a rough shape, some decided to flee while others decided to meditate and leave their flesh bodies as they go into the spirit realm. However, even in the spirit realm, they took notice of the pirate activities and saw that they were trying to get to the source of the Phazon by their temple, but couldn't get far, thanks to their well-hidden artifact keys that they used to seal it up. However, there was only a minor setback, since the pirates established a base in the frozen part of their world, and from there they were able to not only preserve the Metroids they brought with them, but also make the mining operations close by to it to get to the other Phazon that's around. However, once again, something unexpected happened while mining. The Metroid that was enclosed in the Phazon has breached their defenses because it sensed a great amount of Phazon they were collecting there, and tried to get it back. While trying to subdue it, the space pirates fired all sorts of explosives and beams at it, and it resulted in this creature absorbing these weapons into its body, resulting in the final Metroid Prime boss that we fight in that game. However, even with all this happening, the space pirates were able to rampage it back into its hole and continued onward with their experiments, to even transporting some of their experiments up into space. However, this soon turned out to be a grave mistake, as a problem happens in their station, causing a distress signal to be sent out and catching the attention of their mortal enemy, Samus Aran. From here the story of Metroid Prime 1 happens, and I did make a whole video about that, so feel free to check it out after this video to get the whole story, before we jump onto the ending where Samus manages to defeat Metroid Prime's Shell stage, and even Metroid Prime's Phazonic stage, causing it to violently lash out, and even taking Samus's Phazon suit upgrade into its own mass. Now, unknowingly to Samus, this Phazon mass was looking for more Phazon in order to keep itself alive, and so Samus had all the upgrades in this game that allowed the Phazon mass to not only survive, but to transform its new form into that suit, and even change its color from a black and red suit to a black and blue suit. Thus, Dark Samus is born, and manages to escape Talon 4 and head to a new planet that also got struck by another Leviathan seed, in order to get more Phazon to power up its new form. The new planet that they went to is a distant planet known as Ether, where not only did she get a great sense of Phazon there, but it was also getting gathered by space pirates once again. And only this time, instead of being locked up this time, Dark Samus was able to freely move around the whole planet, taking Phazon at any place at any time with no trouble at all, thanks to this new body it got. Unfortunately for Dark Samus though, a fleet of Marines crash lands here after pursuing some pirates here, and after they all died, they sent Samus Aran to come here to investigate, forces Samus to find out about Dark Samus, and even after escaping into the Dark Realm and making Samus lose a lot of her key abilities, Samus was able to track her down multiple times and was even able to destroy her all those times. However, since there are so much Phazon around them, Dark Samus was able to revive time and time again into the surrounding Phazon. Knowing the threat that she posed, Dark Samus tries to stop Samus, and even destroys a huge bridge to impede her progress. However, she was thwarted time and time again, forcing Dark Samus to retreat into the Dark Ether, where the last source of Phazon resides, and where Dark Samus made her last stand, where she reveals her true face, allowing us to make the connection that Dark Samus was indeed back on Talon 4. However, even in her final stand, in the realm created by Phazon, she was unable to defeat Samus, thus forcing Dark Samus to evaporate and allowing Samus to escape. However, even though Dark Samus has been defeated, that doesn't put a stop to her. Instead, Dark Samus just returns back into the light world and tries to reform the Phazon floating around in space, but is unable to at this point. Now this is where Dark Samus notices there are still Phazon on Ether, and quickly returns to the space pirates' mining operations, and took shelter in one of their Phazon tankers, in order to regenerate itself again. However, while trying to recover, the tank was eventually picked up by space pirates, who were trying to retrieve any materials, information, and even weaponry before the Galactic Federation comes to take it. Now, with the recovery of all their stuff, they got records that recorded the events of what happened on here, thanks to the pirate logs here, and they both mentioned Dark Samus and Samus in great detail. Now armed with this knowledge, the pirates were able to locate Dark Samus in the reserves, and managed to capture her in order to try to enlist her into doing their missions, whenever they summoned her. Dark Samus, knowing she's not at full power yet, has no choice but to agree to this whenever she's summoned. And thus, this is how her story in Smash 4 goes, to being Nessus Trophy. Whenever she's summoned, she goes on an all-out attack to finish her task as quickly as she can, and so she can go right back into the tanks for more recovering. Thus ends the story of Dark Samus in Smash 4, and with Ultimate promoting her from Assist Trophy to a fighter, we got some more things to uncover in the last game, Ultimate. Now, Dark Samus in Ultimate has taken on a new role here, and was given the privilege of becoming a fighter, but at a great cost. Seems like Dark Samus is definitely nerfed in this game compared to the last, since now she no longer can use any unique moves that are powered by Phazon here. Now she is just a carbon copy of Samus. However, it also seems like her relationship with the pirates had improved, since we see her posing alongside Ridley, as well as working with Metroids in her reveal trailer. In fact, her whole trailer is a big reference to Metroid Prime 3, where Dark Samus was working with Ridley during her raid on Norion, and the Mother Brain could be a reference to the Aurora unit Dark Samus has already stolen at this point. However, it does seem like her plans have been backtracked by the sudden appearance of both Galeem and Darkon, forcing Dark Samus and even Ridley to go after them eventually. Now, the question is, where did the events of Metroid Prime 3 take place during Galeem and Darkon's attack on the universe? The only clue we can get on when this takes place in Smash is the spirit list, since it doesn't have a spirit of Omega Ridley on it, implying that Dark Samus' invasion on Norion has happened, where Meta Ridley was defeated by Samus, but still survived later on to become Omega Ridley, that is powered by Phazon technology. So to wrap up, we see that Dark Samus and the Space Pirates have an improved relationship, we know Phazon is still in existence here, and we know that the war on the Federation has progressed enough to have Omega Ridley show up as a spirit. Now, with all that out of the way, let's start going over her story. Based on what happens in Metroid Prime 3, and going through the hidden lore found within it, seems like after Dark Samus gets fully revived within a pirate vessel, she absorbs all the remaining Phazon on board and achieves her complete form. Once complete, the pirates knew that in order to survive, they had to become a cult and follow her orders in order to survive, and the ones who didn't got killed off on the spot. Dark Samus then led them to her planet of Phase, where it infected all the remaining pirates, and had them under her control, but her power-hungry struggle didn't stop. She then upgraded the ship the pirates were on with Phazon, and in turn, the pirates upgraded the beast Dark Samus rode on and turned it into the current Leviathans that we see in the game. But still wanting more, she decided that she needed an Aurora unit that the Galactic Federation has made in order to make better use of their Phazon, and after some pirate influence and bribery, they're able to track one down that was being protected by the newest Federation recruits. With this machine, new discoveries of Phazon has been made, one of them being able to create giant Phazon seeds and send them out to planets, and the first one being sent to the pirates' homeworld, where even though Ridley is most likely there, wasn't able to repel the attack, but still remained pretty much uncorrupted at this point, unlike all the other pirates there. After this victory, Dark Samus plans on a huge Galactic Federation takeover by striking 3 very important planets to the Federation in order to destroy their resources. After 2 successful hits on their fuel planet and information systems, their base of operations was next, and Dark Samus was leading the charge with Ridley by her side. However, during this attack, Samus managed to defeat Ridley, forcing them to rescue him and start work on him right away. Now with Ridley out of commission, Dark Samus was forced to step in to put a stop to not only Samus, but all the other hunters as well. But an unexpected event happened here. Something came out of another wormhole that destroyed the seed from crashing into this planet. Knowing her plan has failed, Dark Samus was forced to retreat to go back to her planet on Fazoon to get more information for the Aurora unit. Seems like a massive energy source has been detected on the cliffs and grants Dark Samus the ability to open up her warp pipe in order to get there as fast as she can. Thus begins the World of Life story, where she gets obliterated alongside everybody else, but instead of getting collected by Galeem, she gets collected by Darkon, and worked on his force in the darkness till someone rescued her, which allowed her to get her revenge on both Darkon and Galeem. Thus ends the story of Dark Samus in the Smash series. I wonder what's next for Dark Samus. Well, rest in peace. Man, that was a fun experiment to try out with these 2 video projects, and then seeing the whole Metroid games and stories split into these 2 different kinds of directions kind of feels like how we should approach Metroid overall, since the Prime series and the 2D games seem such big deviations from each other. Ugh. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video and the story of Dark Samus throughout the Smash series. And if you like more, Well, not only will there be another video about regular Samus dropping at the same time as this one, but I got other videos out already on Smash characters such as Link and DK. So go check them out, and remember to like and subscribe for this. Also, at this time of video releasing, I have begun a new job at this point, so videos might be taking a little bit longer to make, but trust me, they will be worth it, and I hope you all have a good time. Till next time, later.